We're on? Calling the meeting to open at 1:0, opening the meeting at 6:45. Thank you all for coming. Is there anyone in need of interpretation? 2.0, call to order. 3.0, roll call. John Alvarez,
Here.
Sabrina Gomez,
Here.
Ruben Macareno. Is in another office now. Alice Lopez, myself, and Mr. Vasquez is not here. Can we all please stand for the flag salute? Ms. Gomez, would you lead us, please?
Ready, salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this point, I will hand this over to our superintendent, Mr. Mendez.
Thank you, Mrs. Lopez. This portion of the meeting is dedicated to the school board organization. So organizational meeting A, oaths of office for newly elected board members. If I can ask Ms. Alice Lopez and Mr. Sigfredo Freddy Espinoza to please come on up. Read from there. Okay, at a general election held on November 5th, 2024, Mrs. Alice B. Lopez was elected to the office of governing board member of Farmersville Unified School District in Tulare County, California, for the term of 4 years to expire on December 8th, 2028. If you would please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Alice B. Lopez,
I, Alice B. Lopez,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion, and that I will well
and that I will well
and faithfully discharge
and faithfully discharge
the duties upon
the duties upon
which I am about to enter.
which I am about to enter.
Please help me welcome Mrs. Alice B. Lopez, governing board member of Farmersville Unified School District. At a board election held on November 5th of 2024, Freddy Espinosa, Sigfredo Freddy Espinosa, was elected to the office of governing board member, Farmersville Unified School District in Tulare County, California, for the term of 4 years to expire on December 8th, 2028. If you would please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Sigfredo Espinosa, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear truth, faith, and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well
and I will well
and faithfully discharge
and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which
the duties upon which
I am about to enter.
I am about to enter.
Please help me welcome Mr. Sigifredo Freddy Espinosa as governing board member of Farmersville Unified School District. At this moment, Mr. Espinosa, if you can please take a seat right over in this area. Election of officers. The governing board shall elect a president from among its members to provide leadership on behalf of the governance team and the educational community it serves. Do we have a motion?
I have a motion
We have a motion by Sabrina.
to elect Alice as our president.
We have a motion by Mrs. Gomez
Second.
for Mrs. Lopez as president. Do we have a second?
Second?
We have a second by Mr. Alvarez. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, 3-0.
I can still vote.
Oh, you can still vote? You can. I apologize. 4-0. The governing board shall elect a clerk from its own membership and at the annual organizational meeting.
Motion, Sabrina Gomez.
We have a motion for Sabrina Gomez by Mr. John Alvarez. Do we have a second?
I second.
We have a second by Mr. Espinoza. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 4-0. For the position of secretary, the governing board shall appoint a secretary to the board. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve, what's your name? Tanya Mendez.
We have a motion by Mr. Alvarez. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Ms. Gomez. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It is 4-0. We have the establishment of meeting dates as presented, January 14th, 28th, February 11th, 25th, March 11th, 25th, April 8th, 29th, May 13th, 27th, June 10th, July 15th, 29th, August 12th, 26th, September 9th, 23rd, October 14th, 28th, November 18th, December 9th.
Motion to approve?
We have a motion by Mr. Alvarez.
Second.
We have a second by Ms. Gomez. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 4-0. D, authorized signature form. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve?
We have a motion by Mr. Alvarez to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Ms. Gomez. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? 4-0. Letter E, board representative to vote in 2025 election of county committee members.
Motion, Freddie.
We have a motion for Mr. Freddy Espinoza.
Second.
We have a second by Ms. Sabrina Gomez. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 4-0. Certification of district clerk election. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Alvarez. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Ms. Sabrina Gomez. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 4-0. Letter G, forms to be completed by the board. This is information only. Registry of Public Agencies, Governing Board Member Information Sheet, Form 700, Statement of Economic Interests. It is 6:56. Please, we're going to adjourn of the organizational meeting at 6:56.
At this point, we will take a 15 to 20-minute break for refreshments. If everyone can please join us for refreshments.
Before we do that, a big hand of applause, please.
You're here, man. So be good.
Yes, sir. Thank you for coming right now. I appreciate it.
See you guys in like March or April.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, you'll be here?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Gotta bring the queen, right?
Thank you. Congrats on your position as well. Thank you so much. Yeah.
You made it. Weren't you supposed to be on this side?
Yeah.
For like 15 minutes.
You know, so when I was
start back up.
Mhm.
We're starting the meeting at 7:07 under 1.0. 2.0, call to order. 3.0, roll call. Freddie Espinoza,
Here.
John Alvarez,
Here.
Sabrina Gomez,
Here.
and myself. 4.0, adoption of agenda is, 4.1, adoption of the agenda is requested as presented with the addendum to the agenda correction on item 10.1.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Alvarez, second by Mr. Espinoza. Are there any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried for all. 8.0, public comments. Members of the public may address the board on any agenda item or other item of interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board, before or during the governing board's consideration of the item. The board is not able to discuss or take action on any item not appearing on the agenda. Pursuant to board policy, the board may limit individual comments to no more than 3 minutes and individual topics to 20 minutes. Please begin your comments by stating your name.
At this moment, there are no public comments.
No public comments? Oh, no, we have one?
Oh, we do. Excuse me, we do have a public comment. Mrs. Nora Alstead? Yes, ma'am.
I just want to say congratulations on your reelection, Ms. Lopez. Congratulations, Mr. Espinoza. Welcome back to both Mr. Alvarez and Ms. Gomez, and I look forward to a fantastic next year working with you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Really appreciate that. Under 8.1, superintendent comments.
The board asked that during public comments, since we already had it, it was fantastic. I'm going to skip over to my part. So good evening. I want to express my gratitude to all of our administrators and teachers and every single one of our staff members for their dedication, as always, to providing effective instruction and learning opportunities for the students and adults in Farmersville. From the board and ourselves and everyone else, we hope you take this time during winter break to recharge and spend quality time with those that you love. Thank you for all that you do for the families of Farmersville. At Farmersville Unified, we emphasize collaboration among students, staff, and parents to foster a vibrant educational environment. This past Friday, Farmersville Unified was honored to support TKO Boxing in their partnership with Toys for Tots and, at their annual event, which provides gifts to Farmersville students. We are grateful for the collaboration with the city of Farmersville as well and local businesses for helping make this event possible. On Saturday, hear this, on Saturday, the 40th annual food pantry event was held at Hester School. Originally started by former principal Gary Carter, this event has been a valuable resource for supporting Farmersville families in need. A big thank you to Mr. Gary Carter, the Kiwanis Club of Farmersville, and the incredible staff members from all schools who participated and to continue to participate to support the students and families of Farmersville. By working together, we aim to reinforce our commitment to serve the needs of the community and drive positive, impactful changes. We have to keep saying it because it's so true. Great things are happening in Farmersville. Let's Farmersville up.
Thank you, Mr. Mendez. Superintendent Mendez, we have to get into that mindset, right? Superintendent, Mr. Mendez. You've been a long time coming for that position, so you deserve the recognition,
Appreciate it.
Superintendent Mendez.
Thank you.
And we'll go on to 10.0, K-8 issues. 10.1, approval/ratification of Snowden School chess tournaments.
Motion.
I second.
You have a motion by Mr. Alvarez, second by Mr. Espinoza. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried for all. 13.0, personnel. 13.1, approval of classified personnel, item 13.1.1.
Move.
Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Gomez, second by Mr. Alvarez, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried for all. 13.2, approval of extracurricular activity / coaching personnel. Item 13.2.1.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Alvarez, second by Mr. Espinosa. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried for all. 13.3, approval of nurse internship program and supervised fieldwork agreement between California State University, Dominguez Hills, and Farmersville, USD.
I motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Espinosa, second by Mr. Alvarez. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried for all. 14.0, board business. 14.1, board member vacancy.
Motion to approve A, provisionary appointment.
We have a motion by Mr. Alvarez under provisional appointment A.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Alvarez, second by Ms. Gomez. Is there any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried for all.
Okay.
14.2, board member vacancy subcommittee.
Motion to approve the subcommittee, and do we nominate now?
I think we need to designate who's going to be on that subcommittee.
We have to do separate votes as in a quorum, so if I nominate, say I nominate Freddie, that's one vote, and then, because you have to have 3 votes to approve that, is that correct?
I mean, it
Correct.
makes
Yes.
sense.
Okay, so I motion to approve, nominate Freddie on the subcommittee.
How many people are on this
Two.
committee?
Two.
Okay.
Yeah, we can't do 3.
Right, okay, that makes sense.
So we have a motion for Mr. Espinosa. Is there a second on that?
Oh, I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Espinosa, you will be on the subcommittee at a vote of 4 all. Is there a motion for another member?
A motion for Sabrina Gomez, subcommittee.
Ms. Gomez, would you accept that nomination?
I do.
Okay. We have a motion by Mr. Alvarez for Sabrina Gomez as our second subcommittee member. Is there a second? I will second.
Nobody wants to second me.
Okay, so-
Sorry, I was reading.
Okay.
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I can vote on
Motion
that.
carried for all.
There we go.
So as to the original motion, we did select a first and second member to be on the vacancy subcommittee. And both of those are for all.
I'm good to go. Yeah? Okay, thank you.
14.3.
14.3, our next item. Consideration of any item any member of the board wishes to have on a future agenda or provide a written update. Mr. Espinosa?
I want to say, as a new board member, is it possible to have a, oh, I guess it's for the agenda? Do we have to agendize,
And
To-
just
Tori.
ask for something
What
to be
what did
put
you,
on the agenda.
what would you like?
just touring the schools
Oh,
as
the
a new
tour.
board member?
School tour,
When do we normally, spring?
I like that.
yeah. Usually in spring or
There's
fall.
usually 2 board tours that we go to, one in the spring and one in the fall. And do we have our fall one?
We did not. So we can set up another one when we get back in January, if that is okay, and then do another one right before our testing.
If we could possibly set it up after the modules are set in place, that would be cool.
The
TK?
TK modules?
Yeah, I think that would be great, yeah. Anyway, yes.
Is there anything else, Mr. Espinosa?
No, not at this time.
Okay, Mr. Alvarez?
If we could, Manuel, maybe check on the infrastructure for the power charging of vehicles. infrastructure, since if we can get it done for free at this time, the land is still raw. Get that put in place, at least to give an idea, because it's coming in the future, and we get it done for free, that would be great.
Are you stating the infrastructure for solar panels that are bus-borne?
No, I'm talking about the solar charging, the charging systems for electric cars and electric buses.
Charging
If-
stations.
So the connection, the
Charging station, yeah. We have a ground raw. And maybe go after a grant to cover that, that'd be great.
Ms. Gomez?
Right now,
I'm sorry, wait a minute,
Yeah.
sorry. Was that all, Mr. Alvarez?
Yeah, that's it for now.
I'm sorry,
Take it
yes,
easy.
Ms. Gomez?
right now I don't have anything. Thank you.
Okay, I don't have anything either
So,
at this time. Thank you. 15.0, Business Services. 15.1, Presentation of First Interim Report. We need it on there. Oh, there they go.
All right, good evening, board members, and congratulations to Ms. Gomez, Ms. Lopez, and Mr. Espinoza. So tonight, I am gonna present to you our first interim report. So this is little context for Mr. Espinoza. It's an annual report that we do at this time of the year, where we try to present to you the actuals from July 1st through October 31st, so first quarter. And this is a state requirement, and so all school districts throughout the state of California present on this, regardless of their size, right, from the smallest to the largest. And so just a little bit of a background for you on that. So we're going to cover the budget report for all the funds. And then this does include the multi-year projection for the next 2 years out. So first slide, this is the general fund. So this is, for the most part, what funds all of our activities at the district. And so it's broken up into 3 columns. The first 2 are unrestricted and restricted. And the third one is a combined column of all of our revenue and all of our expenses. And so what I'll try to do is summarize it for you in a way that you can really digest it. So on the first column, the unrestricted, that's money that's coming in from our enrollment and attendance. And so the column next to it, the restricted, that's where a lot of our dollars that come from, like grants. So some of the more recent ones, the expanded learning opportunities, arts and music, instructional materials grant, the learning recovery emergency block grant. All of those sit on that restricted column. So when you look to the combined, this year, we're projecting to get, combined between the two, $50 million. So next we'll move down to the second section below. This is all of our expenses. And same thing, unrestricted and restricted expenses. And the third column is a combined. And so you can see that for this year, we're projecting to spend a total combined of $60 million. And you can see the various categories there. Up above, I forgot this part, but you see that there's the LCFF revenue, and then you see federal revenue, state revenue, and then other local. On the expenses, you'll see certificated salaries, which generally speaking are our largest expense, followed by classified salaries, benefits, books and supplies, services, capital outlay, other outgo, and then indirect as well. So I'm gonna move down a couple of rows here. The 2.4 million is contribution. So we contribute from our unrestricted general fund to the restricted side annually, which is a requirement for routine maintenance. So we do that, and that is represented in that number, as well as we contribute to our special ed services. So we do that annually. So let me cover the bottom line of what we're seeing for this year at this point in time. And I'm going to cover some of the factors that go into this budget in the following slides. So the projected bottom line for unrestricted is that we're overspending, or we're deficit spending by $3 million. The next column over on the restricted side, and I'm going to explain this a little bit because it's probably sending some alert signals.
A little bit.
So on the restricted side, it's projecting almost 7 million. Now, on the grant side, we have already received a lot of these funds. So for learning recovery, arts and music, those are already sitting in our fund balance. So that, the majority of that expense is going to be covered by our fund balance. So we're not projecting additional revenue because we've already received it. So we already have it in, you can say, in a bucket, and it's sitting there waiting to be used up. And so there's no more revenue coming in from those sources because it's already here. Now, what's important about restricted is that those are grants. Those have a term. They expire. So at some point when they expire, so should their related expenses, unless we identify other funding sources. Now, those funding sources, if identified, should also allow these expenses to be transferred over or to be moved over. And that's where it just depends on what kind of funding sources are available. They all have their own unique criteria of what's allowed and what's not. So once those funds end, again, so should their related expenses. And those are diverse. They can be services, supplies, staffing as well. Is there any questions on this slide? So the combined is 9.9. For our purposes, with planning, we're really going to be targeting that 3, that first column, and then planning for the restricted side. So let me go over some of the factors and the recommendations in the budget. The first one being the COLA. And I want to spend a couple of minutes on the COLA because as some of the board members that have been here for some time, you've seen the COLAs fluctuate, and in the more recent years, being kind of high, right? And we all went through COVID together, and there was dollars that were given to school districts through this avenue, and so now we're on the downward trend of COLAs. Last year at second interim, I believe it was 0.76. Right now, we're projecting at 1.07. So it went up a little bit, and we're optimistic that that can continue to climb, but those are not guarantees. So for that, we will wait for the January budget to come out. But of course, we're trying to stay in communication with our different sources at the county office to get a sense of what's happening. And so last word I got was, may go up, but we'll, for this purposes of this report, it's 1.07. The other factors are, well, and you see the recommendations in out years for COLA. So we're projecting that they're gonna go back up. And then we include STRS and PERS as well. Any questions on this one?
Just I think it was just last year, the projected was way off on the COLA from what they actually received, correct, or what we received?
Yeah, I mean, and really, if I can take you back to like a year ago, at this point in time, I think we were at like 3.94, and suddenly went down to 1 and under 1. So these things can fluctuate, and there's external factors, stock market, collection of tax revenue at the state. And so if you can recall, last year, the tax collection date was extended out to October, and so we were all looking at what that was gonna look like to see if it would change any of our budgets.
Is there any projection or prediction if the STRS and PERS rates are gonna go up additionally?
We're expecting that they will, and the last I checked, I believe up to 29% over the next couple of years on the PERS. I don't have the STRS, but I can bring that back. Yeah, I'm happy to share that out. But these are some of the factors. Some of the other factors we include inflation on both materials and services. Those tend to be at around 1.5%. Services at 2.5%.
Thank you.
So this slide, I wanted to highlight that restricted part of the budget. The other part of this is that we have lost, or some of the funding ended, and so everybody's familiar with the ESSER funding that we received during COVID, and so those funds have expired. And they expired, the last of them expired September 30th of this year. And so you can see that that was about 3.8 million. In prior year, it was 2.1. And you know, all of these came with plans on how to utilize them while they were here and we had them. The other two below I mentioned, and we have some plans for those that have been presented to the board in the past that we hope to take a fresh look at over the next few months. But that's the arts and music and the learning recovery. So those are the ones that are sitting in our fund balance. We are currently using them, and we'll continue to evaluate how to best maximize those resources to support student needs and district operations.
Question, do we have like a breakdown of what arts and music consist of, what the funds can be used for, and then the learning recovery block grant? Do we have like a list? And then are we able to see those? And then
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, the main source is the California Department of Education. And so that's where I go to look at any new funding source that's coming. We can go on there and see what's allowed and what's not. Let me go over this next part. So we do have a lot of construction going on, and you're all aware. And it's the TK Kinder building, the ELOP modular buildings, and then the other large one that will be underway and has broken ground is the facilities, that new facilities. And then we have these other smaller ones that have been in our budget, and you can see that they have a status in parentheses. So the high school cafeteria HVAC, the fire alarm at the high school, the chiller project, and then some, the shade structure. Some of these are funded differently. General fund, that's GF. General fund maintenance. ELOP, that's our Expanded Learning Opportunities Program, after-school program. ESSERS, we did get an extension on some of that ESSER funding, and so we're still working on that one. LCAP, child nutrition, and then the California preschool program, funding those TK classrooms. And I'm pointing those out because they're one time. So once those projects have completed and, you know, we expend all those funds, and those will be taken off of our budgets.
Any of these one-time, I believe at least one of them, or maybe, I think just one, might be able to fall under our bond, something that we can use out of our bond. Is that something we can put on the agenda to discuss at our next meeting? As to, if maybe that portion can come out of our bond money.
Do you know which one, by chance,
It
that
was
you're thinking?
the very last one we had. When was it?
Which one?
The last bond measure that was approved? It must have been 4 years ago, right, or
Yeah,
2 years ago?
The last one
Was-
that was approved was for,
Is that for the aquatic center?
No, it was after that.
it was for the shade structures.
No, it was for, originally, it was supposed to build us our sit-in cafeteria and 21st century upgrading.
We could take a look in it, into it.
But,
refer, and then
but
bring
if
it
we
back.
can move, you know, that expense into the bond, because we do need to start using that money also and getting that going, see where we're at. We can put that on the agenda, please.
Also too, do we, you know, the TK and the K classrooms, do you have a projected ADA income on that? That'd be nice to know, just to, what we got coming, if anything.
I'll move on to
Thank
the
you.
next slide. I think those are some follow-ups for us. And this next slide, this is what is called the LCFF calculator. So prior to building these reports, we're working closely with our county office. And so we report to them our projected enrollment and attendance. And then based on that, that builds out the revenue that you see here, along with some of the other factors that are part of the total revenue calculation. So I highlighted in yellow our COLA for this year. And then if you just kind of go down below on each of the rows, you'll see that there's dollars that we get for supplemental and concentration money for unduplicated students, homeless, low income, and English language learners is the third category. So I'm demonstrating this slide just to show you over the past few years what our bottom line revenue has done, you know, over the past couple of years and where we're projected to go into the next 2 out years. So this is the next part, which is going over the multi-year projection, which is a requirement of this report. So what I want to really demonstrate here is the next 2 years out and what's happening with our revenue and expenses. At the very top, though, you'll see what our beginning fund balance is. And this is combined unrestricted and restricted fund balance. At the very bottom, you'll see what our ending balance represents in terms of a percentage. And so the highlights here is I'll draw you to the net change. And so for this year, again, that 9.9 million deficit, 6 million of which is covered by the fund balance. Next year, 5.4. Next year out, also 5.4. So with the restricted side of our budget, as we plan for those funds in these out years, assuming nothing replaces those existing grants and those expenses end when that funding ends, then that deficit will come down as we spend out those dollars.
To
On-
replace them with our revenue from the general fund, or correct?
So in the form of contributions, you'd be able to do that. However, one consideration is that if you choose to do that, then you'll start depleting your revenues over time.
Correct. So,
And-
quick question, because I'm just trying to understand how the finances work. So we get a large amount in the beginning of 2024, and then we have to hold on to that amount and make it last till 2027?
So let me go back. So the 36 million that's there in the current year column, that is apportioned out to the school district periodically throughout the year. So we don't get one lump sum.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Some grants will give you more depending on the scope of the grant. Sometimes we have to bill for it, and so it may look a little bit different for grants. Yeah. So this is all again with that 1.07 COLA. And then the next one is just kind of a deeper dive into that restricted side of the general fund. So I just mentioned in the previous slide, we're gonna be planning for that $3 million deficit that we're projecting in the out years as those grants, deplete in their funds. If we don't address that, then a contribution or other strategies would be considered. But there would be plenty of planning ahead of time.
And then, quick question. So the 3 million, do we kind of know more or less like what we want to go after to like help the 3 million? Like, do we want a grant, a certain grant, because we know the 3 million that depleted us there? Do we need like a strategy? Is that the strategy we're gonna work on?
Well, a couple of things I would recommend is you can approach this from a needs perspective. So grant funding changes. Sometimes some administrations really focus on nutrition and health, or the California Department of Education might have grants for social emotional learning, and other kind of mental health support. And so, those things are some considerations. The scope of what we focus on can change. And so we try to apply for what is available. And in some cases, there's alignment. And in other cases, there might not be. So as an example, years back, school districts had Healthy Start funding.
I remember that.
Currently, we've received the Community Schools Program funding, and so, funding changes over time. Yeah. I hope that answers your question.
Freddie sells tacos, we'll be okay. Well, Freddie sells tacos on the corner, we'll be all right.
But certainly the goal is to be planning ahead of time for all of this.
Awesome. Oh, that's good.
Here are some of the other funds that are part of the report. So this is the current status of these funds with dollar amounts.
Yeah.
I think this is it, Mrs. Lopez.
Yes.
Yeah, 3 million.
We'll report back on that.
Yeah.
Developer funds. So as construction takes off in Farmersville, we would expect to see some funds flow into that fund, 251, through fees for developing new homes, residential homes, or commercial. The county schools facilities, in there we have funds for the TK buildings. And then the 400s, also for the new maintenance project by Snowden. And then some more details on the dollar amounts down below. Any more questions? I really summarized it, and I'm open to any questions you might have.
Any questions?
I did like what Alice said, because, so say we go into that 3 million deficit, right? But we have the bond money to replace something here, would that like outweigh that, or we're just projected there?
Some bonds, there are plans for them.
Right.
And so when they were approved by the community voters, they were approved with some things tied to them. So whether it was new projects in the form of modernization, or for example, the aquatic center. So there's specific things that are tied.
Okay, gotcha.
Probably, we could try to get you a copy of that bond and what it was for, so that you can see. It was tied to specific things that the voters asked for.
Yeah.
I think just to end it, and if there are no more questions, the criteria for this report is that we do meet some requirements, and we have met the 3 requirements. So we do have positive cash flow, we do have a positive fund balance, and we are meeting our 3% minimum reserve. And so for the purposes of this report, we do meet the criteria, and it does require board approval.
Okay.
If there are no further questions, we can move on to 15.2. Approval of first period interim report and positive certification of financial status.
Motion.
I second.
We have a motion by Mr. Alvarez, second by Mr. Espinosa. Thank you, Mr. Monroy.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 4-all. 15.3, approval of authorized signers, add/remove with Bank of New York, Mellon, BNY.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Alvarez, second by Mr. Espinosa. Is that correct?
Yes.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 4-all. 17.0, future meeting dates. 17.1, January 28th, 2025, and February 11th, 2025. I'm sorry?
January 14th.
We have another board meeting on the 14th?
14th.
Okay.
We'll be here.
Okay, so because there are
There's supposed
just
to be another one.
there's
It's January 14th.
2 meetings in January, the 14th and the 28th.
Right,
Yeah.
approved.
So then, 1428, right?
Yeah, it's only got 2 of the.
Just a reminder, because there's only 4 of us. If someone is not going to be able to make the meeting, let us know in advance, so we can make arrangements. We need 3 people at this point to have a quorum. So if any of those dates, you won't be here, let us know. Thank you. Under 20.0, adjournment to closed session. Do we have any closed session items?
We do.
We have, okay. We'll adjourn at 7:45 to go over 20.1, conference with labor negotiator, GC 54956.7. It is the intention of the board to meet in closed session to review its position and to instruct its designated reps, agency designated representative. This is old. This is not correct.
Manuel Mendez.
We'll correct that to Mr. Manuel Mendez. And who else on that, Mr. Mendez? On the designated reps? What are we getting? Name of organization, FTS, CSEA Management. 20.2, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, government code section 54956.9. Significant exposure to litigation pursuant to subdivision D of section 54956.9, and 20.3, public employee discipline, dismissal, release, government code 54957. Thank you. If anyone's leaving us, have a
Safe trip.
safe ride home.
Thank you.
We return into open session at 8:13. 21.0, action taken on closed session items. 21.1, conference with labor negotiator GC 54956.7. It is the intention of the board to meet in closed session to review its position and instruct its designated reps. Agency designated representative Manuel Mendez. Superintendent, name of organization FTA CSEA Management. No action taken. 21.2, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, Government Code Section 54956.9, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to subdivision D of Section 54956.9, no action taken. 21.3, public employee discipline, dismissal, release complaint, Government Code Section 54957, no action taken. 22.0, adjournment at 8:14.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Alvarez, second by Mr. Espinosa. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 4-all. Meeting is adjourned.